Tyler, we've gone completely and totally philosophical for opening kickoff to kind of work things out.
Sweet.
We were kind of discussing what was going on in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza last night, where it wasn't really a good night. I mean, you had two MLS teams going up against each other, so somebody was obviously going to advance. And then Tigres behind Gignac, who gets paid like $9 gazillion a year to stay at Tigres. Tigres, there was 2-1 at the break, 4-2 final. So Tigres advances, knocking off Orlando City, and the purple team's going to be coming here to Atlanta. But then I know that everyone in the spotlight is drawn to that 6-0 from Philadelphia last night, and we're trying to solve the world's problems today when it comes to Major League Soccer and trying to compete in this tournament. And to Jarrett's point, it is cyclical, but then you had everybody with the warning sirens again sitting there, taking out the civil defense helmets and everything and making sure that everybody had their mattresses and was in their bathtubs when it came to the competition last night, because Philly got whacked. And so obviously everybody's sitting there going, oh, you've got to fix the salary cap. You got to do this. You got to do that. So we're trying to solve the world's problems on a cyclical nature. What did you think about what happened last night, and how would you address the issues currently that face Major League Soccer that are part of a larger discussion when it comes to CONCACAF?
First of all, it's always a good day when you wake up and Philly and Orlando have gotten walloped. I don't care who does it. It makes me so happy. And also, I know Philly is complaining, saying whatever, repeating everything about the salary cap and this and that and the other. I get it.
And this is also national media figures who were sitting there saying, and I think it was Michele Giannone from Tudene who was saying it, you've got to raise the salary cap. You've got to fix these problems. Rawr. That was the only thing that was missing was the rawr as a part of the whole.
It's a valid point. I get it. But right now, I just want to enjoy this. I will point out that Atlanta beat Pachuca in the world famous AmFam Cup in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not the best team. And it was also a year plagued with injuries.
Right.
And we didn't get beat 6-0, just saying.
Okay.
So I don't know. But I think 6-0, there's no excuse really. I mean, we can talk about the salary cap and everything else. 6-0 is bad.
Mm-hmm.
You just played bad. You were a bad team yesterday. And I don't think having, 2 or 3 other maybe somewhat better players would have made the difference in this game. You just didn't look good. You didn't look like you wanted to be there. So I don't know. Yeah, I know the arguments and the talking points and everything else are going to be going around, but ultimately it was just a bad soccer game for Philly, and it was a slightly less bad soccer game for Orlando. But neither one of them looked great, and I hope these teams meet again in the Leagues Cup.
Rich Ransom, our resident Philadelphia Unionite, he goes, we were not going to beat a past Liga MX champ in the second leg at home. Philly supporters knew going into the season expectations for this team were low. The whole running it back thing for the third year in a row. Here was the lineup last night, by the way, for Philly going up against Pachuca. Andre Blake in net, Harriel, Glesnes, Lowe, Wagner, Martinez, Bedoya, McGlynn, Sullivan, Gazdag, and Ua. So that's a first-choice lineup. You went all in a first choice going up against a Tigres side, and Jarrett gives us the Irish goodbye. He might try to circle back in hour number 2. It's Jarrett's signature. It's the Irish goodbye. So, so first-choice lineup, and Rich is wondering who in Philadelphia is saying these things. No one is. I think nationally, I think Rich is where the discussion is about Philadelphia running it back for the third year in a row, and looking at the comments of Jim Curtin preseason and these kinds of things. But the larger point, I think, is much like every other tournament that we know, it's luck of the draw, figuring out the bracket, and navigating the road game, I think, more than anything else, and not putting yourself in a position to where if you have to have that second leg on the road in a hostile environment, that you've got to dig yourself out of a hole in the first place. All of these things that we know in tournaments, you can't have go against you to prep yourself for these second legs.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't think you can place the full blame on Philly. This goes for Orlando, too.
Oh, no.
I mean, both teams could have come in there and played well, and neither of them did. They were very much below average for both sides. And I think it's nationally, but I think they're using Philadelphia as the standpoint just because of the goal difference. I think that's why it's such an emphasis on it, because of how big that goal difference is. But I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, I think both teams, they could have played better. I mean, I think they both had that, especially with Philly not being able to play in the MLS regular season because they had the game was stopped due to weather.
Right. And so you had to get out of town, and they've got to figure out that rescheduling too. And I'm trying to go quickly and figure out what the Orlando lineup was. Trying to zoom as quickly as it possibly can. The player stats. You got me?
I got you.
All right, hit
the lineup for Orlando. You had Muriel up top, Angulo, Ladero, Torres, Cartagena, Martins, Thorhalson, Brecalo, Janssen, Smith, and then Galese in goal.
Okay, so that's fairly first choice.
Yeah.
So once again, you're pushing all your chips to the center of the table, trying to move on, but didn't work for them as well. And Rich, this was a point that we had, and I would suggest for anybody that wants to. We actually did a deep dive into the Philadelphia situation in the preseason. And so Rich says 50% Jim, 50% the front office, still not giving him the tools to win. And we actually came up, I think it was like a 45-minute deep dive into the situation. And the bottom line is, even though they're investing, the owners might have to be in a situation where they need to sell to have somebody else who has deeper pockets to help Philadelphia out, bring in the talent that they're having to spend on, but spend more on, like other clubs that we know intimately, in addition to the academy situation, which, kind of like other teams that we know intimately have been able to do that as well. So then let me ask, Tyler, is there an easy fix here when it comes to these situations with MLS teams, or does it come down to all those variables that we've been talking about, you think?
I mean, I don't think there's an easy answer. I think, Keith Costigan, I actually saw a tweet that he put out, I think, after the Philly match, and it was essentially talking about how Philly has, and to your point, they've just remained stagnant over the past couple of years. They had such a great, 2020, 2021. And then, not that they've been bad since then, but they just haven't done anything to grow. And he said, you can't just rely on the academy to do everything for you, because you never know at what point those players will hit their ceiling, or at least hit their temporary ceiling, right? You'll always have a year or two where maybe you don't improve as much as you want to as a player. But I think he's right. MLS, you have to hit on both sides. You have to spend some money and go out and get talent. And then you have to have a good academy. And I always go back to Tyler Wolff last year in Orlando. I was at that game. And we did the post-match interview. He scored the tying goal almost in stoppage, close to stoppage.
Right.
Made it 1-1. And we talked to Brad and we talked to Tyler Wolff. And Brad mentioned that, for guys like Tyler Wolff, it's tough in this league because, with a team like Atlanta or a team like Miami or somewhere that's going to go out and spend money, it makes it tough for those guys that have come up through the academy, or the younger guys, maybe not homegrowns, but just the younger guys that have come up, because they're often going to get glossed over. So for them, they either have to put their big boy pants on and improve and really, really give a fight for those spots, or they're going to go by the wayside. And then Tyler Wolff came in there and essentially repeated the same thing and said, I've had these conversations with my dad, my brother, about going in and making the absolute most out of every opportunity. And I think if you look at Tyler Wolff's season last year, that was very much what he did. And that's what you have to do, I think, as a whole in MLS. You have to have those guys coming up through your pipeline that want to play, that they're hungry. They're hungry. And even if they do get 15 minutes in a match, they're going to do what they can to make the most of it. And then on top of that, you have to have your guys that you're paying big money for do big money things. And it just, none of that worked for either one of these teams yesterday.
All right. So now that we've had a couple of days, let's steer it back to Atlanta United. And now that you've had a couple of days to look at what happened, it was, I don't know. maybe it was half a Rev wedding reception. I don't know. It wasn't quite Rev wedding. It wasn't quite like a second Rev wedding. There was no divorce and getting remarried or anything like that. So maybe it was a Rev wedding reception for one. Now that you've had a couple days to kind of digest what you got to learn in the locker room, learn in post-match, learn at the match itself, what are some of your other takeaways from Atlanta United's win over New England on the weekend?
I think, one, this was a match where you looked at all the things that have been mentioned in the preseason and then kind of going into the season with the chemistry and the focus, like the inward focus that Pineda and the players have talked about. Like all of that kind of came to fruition in this match. And, people talk about the first half, and the first half, it had ups and downs. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. You're thankful that crossbar did its job in the first half.
That's one of the better defenders you could ever have. If you're
it's always there.
Best friend.
But, other than that, though, like it was very much a back and forth. They were kind of feeling each other out. But then you have to remember, too, Atlanta had that 2-week break. And so I don't care what form you're in, what part of the season you're in, or what players you have on your team. You're always going to have some rust when you're kind of stopping and starting, and there's like this choppiness to the beginning of the season. Everybody's not going to be on the same page. I don't care what chemistry building, team bonding stuff you're doing. But they figured it out. And, you win the penalty, and then it opens the floodgates from there. And so I think seeing the team just do what they did, the third goal to me was like the epitome of what Pineda wants out of this team. I mean, like that, it was such a beautiful thing to watch. And I was having a heart attack in the press box watching them play out of that corner. Knowing, and not do it every time, knowing good and well like what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I've got PTSD from the past couple of seasons, and I'm just waiting for that mistake. But they did so well, and then of course, they play it out. Brooks Lennon puts in just like the dime of a cross.
Ooh.
And then Giacomakis does what he does, and it was beautiful to see. But then I think when you go to Pineda's comments after the match about how all of that happened because of their film crew, their film review team, kind of seeing some pieces of New England's defense that they could exploit, and then putting it into play in a game, and then it coming to fruition in that beautiful goal. Like it's just things. If you can keep some semblance of that chemistry amongst the whole club, the players, coaching staff, film review guys, everything, you're going to have a good season, because it was just a thing that was fun to watch. It was fun attacking soccer, but it wasn't perfect either. I mean, we kind of chatted with Pineda yesterday at the training ground. And one of the things that I asked about was their pressing, because it seemed a little bit disorganized in this game compared to what it did in Columbus, which is funny considering the result. But he said, it was much better in Columbus. It wasn't where we wanted it. And so they were spending this week working on just some of those triggers, some of those things, because Giacomakis was getting frustrated in this match. He was getting, like visibly irritated that at times he was the one going to press and nobody was pressing with him, and vice versa. And so I think overall, though, it's a 4-1 win, and you should be happy about it. And you just, now, if you're Atlanta, you just have to maybe fine tune the little things that didn't go exactly the way you wanted them, and go from there.
Matty Cruz for Tyler Pilgrim as Tyler takes a sip from his coffee.
What's up, Tyler? How you doing?
He's got coffee to worry about.
Yeah, got coffee. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I think just from the aspect of how the game performed, obviously those fine-tuning things, but I think it also helps too. You play that first game, that game at home, and then you also get to play again at home this Sunday against Orlando. How do you keep that momentum going into that Sunday match, but not getting overly amped up? Because we sometimes see how, a team can come off a really great win and then you go to the next game and it kind of falls off. How do you think they need to build off and not get that rust or get in their head to, secure a win again against Orlando?
I mean, if I were the coaching staff, I would be showing those 4 goals over and over again on repeat in the training ground. But I think yeah, there has to be some tempered, conversations of just like going back to what I said a minute ago. Pineda wants this team to focus inwardly and just worry about what they can worry about and fix what they can fix and not worry so much about the outside noise. And I think you have to go into it with confidence, knowing like your plan's working. It did the job Saturday, and you had a rowdy, really big crowd there. You're still, I mean, it's not going to be 8,000 on Sunday, but you're probably going to pack out the 2 lower bowls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you just have to kind of, for the new guys, you have to go into the conversation saying, hey, expect more of what you had Saturday with the atmosphere and the vibes and the crowd and everything else. This was not a one-off thing. Welcome to Atlanta. This is what happens here. But then for the guys that have been here, you have to just say, hey, more of the same. Let's fine tune the little things, fix the little things, and have an even more complete game. Maybe keep a clean sheet going into this one, but don't get big headed about it. It's still one game.
What is the mug this morning, by the way?
It's the same. I thought about getting a different one. I'll save that one for next week. It's still Mandalorian.
All right. Okay.
I was thinking about going with the Mario Cup this morning, but
okay. I didn't know if you were an individual of ritual or if you like to juggle your mugs. I didn't know how you were.
So this is like a 90% of the time mug. This is like that everyday. Have you ever seen, what is it? Olympus Has Fallen? Is that the movie? Where I think it's that one where Morgan Freeman, he suddenly becomes like the president, after everything else happens with the president, vice president. And then he's first order of business is get me a legitimate like ceramic coffee mug because it always tastes better out of those. This is that mug for me. This is the one that it just tastes better out of.
And then Tyler Pilgrim decided that the Mandalorian was going to be the way he was going to enjoy his first cup of coffee. And Tommy, who is eavesdropping in this morning. I know, I'm shocked. Orlando used a lot of energy last night, plus a late night game, plus travel home. You have to take advantage. Absolutely true. And all of those factors combining with the lineup that you used at Tigres, turning around and having to, I'm imagining flying home. And so today being Wednesday is probably just light recovery. And then Thursday is when you're going to be doing all of your stuff outdoors. Friday's probably your travel day. So basically what you're looking at is maybe a day or a day and a half for Orlando to try to reorient from getting shelled by Gignac, turning around and then having to come up here and play in an environment where they're not too highly thought of, to end a sentence in a preposition. And so I think that this is definitely one that you're going to have to take advantage of. I want to know, frankly, what the condition of the guys are for the purple team, because I want to know what the lineup is going to be for Oscar Pareja. Is he going to try and trot guys out and say, give me what you can, since we don't have the triple C to worry about anymore? Or is he going to rotate knowing that the wear and tear was there midweek? This will be the interesting question for me with Oscar Pareja.
I think, call it what we want, but I mean, it's a derby game, right? I would imagine, again, we had the same conversation last week about New England, but there's a little more hate, I think, between these two teams. So, just a little bit, I'm still waiting on stepfather Yako to show what he's about. But no, I mean, if I'm Perea, I'm trotting out the first choice if I can. I mean, you may not get 90 minutes, but try to give me 60. I think. I mean, and you do have the benefit of their game was on Tuesday, so you do have one extra day. Of course, that travel sucks.
Yes,
but yeah, I think you ask for what you can get and hope for the best. And if you're Atlanta, you just have to take advantage of it. Take advantage of it and dominate them. Yeah,
and you mentioned goal number 3, and I think that, too, once again, to Tommy's point about chemistry, I'll go ahead and flash it up here. Tommy says chemistry is still building. Lennon and Gigi both were frustrated with Gregerson and where he was placing the ball to them seemed to improve in the second half. But once again, that's reps. Yeah, you're looking at reps. Reps at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground are far different when dudes are, trying to come down on you in front of 67-7-27. I mean, I think it's a little different when when points are on the line here. And once again, that only was the second match in league play where you're trying to reorient and figure out, okay, well, so-and-so wants the ball here. So-and-so wants the ball here in this situation. You've got to put it, all these kinds of things. What did you think about our new trident there at the spine with Derek and with our resident free safety Stian Gregerson and with Bart Sleesh? What did you think about their appearance in their second match together?
I thought they were great. I mean, I think there was some cleanup to do, like Tommy mentioned. It was funny because he texted me during the game and was like, Stian's passes in this first half have been really bad. But it was funny because Stian would do so well to just shut down an attack because he is so fast. He's so agile, which is really scary for how big of a guy he is. But yeah, he did everything well to be in the right places and everything else. But then I think his passes would definitely let him down. But then he started to clean it up. And as the game progressed, it felt like he kind of grew into it a little bit more, and that it was faster than it was in Columbus. And so that's what you want to see. You want to see the progression. Derek, we did our ratings thing, then put it out yesterday. I think Derek had a pretty good game. He wasn't perfect. He had a couple of little mistakes, but I think his recoveries were really, really good. And if you look at his numbers, they were, I think, above average, but it just seems like those two communicate and just get each other a lot quicker and better than some of the center back pairings we've had in the past. And then Slish, I felt like Slish just had a phenomenal game. I feel like he was exactly what you needed him to be. He was helping kind of usher New England to each side. He was kind of being that what's the word? I guess the phrase, because I know you always talk about free safety. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm trying to think of another football term that would work in this situation.
Yeah, is he your rover?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. And he just kind of floats and then he appears and
he's your bandit back.
Yeah. And he's that additional number to give you numerical superiority on one side. And, Dax yesterday at training, he talked about how part of their whole idea was to push New England and Orlando this weekend. You want to push them out wide. You want to keep them out wide because what they want to do is play through the middle. And we go back to last season and I would lose my mind watching some of the goals that Atlanta gave up last year, where it was just that late runner into the top of the box where your number 6 should have been. And they would just appear and the ball would get played to them and nobody was there to cover them. And it was a goal. And Slish has handled that responsibility well and then some. And they all have the benefit to, maybe sometimes this goes underrated, but they all have the benefit of speaking English. They speak the same language, right? And it just seems like the three of them are getting each other. Not perfect yet, but it's like you said, it's 2 games in. Like what you do at the training ground doesn't equate to Mercedes-Benz Stadium or wherever you're playing a real game. It helps, but it's not going to be exactly the same, variables and everything else. So I like them. There's room for improvement, but it's still, to me, way better than what you had last year.
Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves N Spikes hanging out with us on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Maddie, for Tyler, go.
Oh, so I guess we already kind of mentioned it a little bit. Orlando, it's very much a derby game. It's a rivalry in an essence of it was like the league kind of forced it a little bit, but it did end up becoming a rivalry because I am one of those people I don't like Orlando that much, but anyway.
And when you have fans decide that uprooting metal bleachers during some of the first activity at Bobby Dodd is something that fans should do, but I digress.
Yeah. No, absolutely, 110%.
Did you say that out loud?
Oops.
What?
Oops. I'm sorry. Did I mention that? Was that in my out loud voice? I'm sorry.
Dang, I thought it was in my head.
Martha.
I mean, but I guess my question's more or less not even just about the game Sunday, but do you have a moment where you were like, ooh, here's the rivalry? Like, was that a moment for you where you had that distinction of watching a game and you were like, okay, yeah, I don't like this team?
For Orlando,
Yeah.
specifically. I think for me, it actually wasn't an in-game moment.
Was it a billboard moment?
No, but that's a good shout though. That one, I think it's a mixture of all of these things, right? But the one that always sticks out to me was, and it popped up the other day when Orlando got, I think it was when they played Miami, when they got absolutely beat down.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even a meme. It was a video that Joseph Martinez put up of him eating chicken wings, and he's just like watching the game, and he's laughing. He's like, Orlando, and I died and that's still to this day every time I see that, because it was such like a forced rivalry, right? Because whatever, they were close.
Mm-hmm.
Darren Eels did some magic to do the billboard thing and everything.
You're
else.
both in the Southeast, therefore you're rivals,
right? But Joseph Martinez and how good he played in every one of those matches is what made that quote unquote rivalry. It's what made the whole thing, because for Atlanta, it was fun because Atlanta would absolutely dominate Orlando. Had you not had Joseph and his little antics, I don't think it would have been what it has become, or kind of become. And but it's always that thing of him eating the chicken wings. It cracks me up every time I see it. And to this day, even though he's 2 teams removed from Atlanta, I still play that every time we play Orlando.
Oh, it is my favorite video ever. I also still love the photo that someone did. I think it was after the Open Cup. Someone went into Orlando's Wikipedia page and put Joseph Martinez as.
Oh, yeah. To
this day, my favorite that's ever been done.
I will add the Joseph Martinez when he sets the record at Exploria, which is what it was then, and you have what we referred to as #Bendick face when he breaks the record, goes around Joe Bendick. Bendick is on his keister and he's kind of split. He's kind of going all bunch of different directions. He's looking up and he's looking behind, and Joseph's like over the shoulder going, "Yeah, bruh." Yeah, when he set the record. So there are moments in this rivalry that have made it the rivalry that it is, and I think it's going to be once again a very interesting display when it comes to all of the variables that we have taken in for this particular rivalry. You've been at practice this week. I know that some folks were held out for load management. I feel like we're the San Antonio Spurs at times, and Gonzalo Pineda's Greg Popovich. It's like not at practice today. Why? Load management, DNP, load management. And then I think Derek was a little under the weather. I think that was, did I read that correctly? Did I remember?
Yeah, he just had a little sickness. Said it wasn't anything serious, but they expected him back today. I haven't heard if he's back today, but yeah.
And then Michael Head brings up an interesting element in this.
I was about to say
the Tito Villalba rocket from outside the 18 that I think was trying to burr a hole in the net, through the net, and through the 100 section behind the net when he got that goal. Late, horribly late in a match. And Michael
wasn't his nickname? Am I crazy? Wasn't it like the Lion Destroyer or the Lion Tamer or something like that?
Yeah, I think back in the day, Tito was the Lion Tamer or something along those lines. So yeah, the only thing missing was the stool and the whip, like Gunther Gable Williams, and I just dated myself. I just dated myself with that reference with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. So, all right, Tyler, thanks for hanging out as always. Go ahead and hit the promo for me and let me know what's going on at Scarves N Spikes and how folks can access what you guys are doing. Oh, how was Signia? How was the remote at the new hotel? How shiny is it in there?
It is quite shiny. Great drinks, great food, and yeah, it was a fun time. The bar up on the 4th floor, just unrelated to our show, but if you want somewhere else to go just to hang out before a game, that bar is open. It's an open sports bar. You can go and hang out. They have a really cool Halo board right inside that's obviously reminiscent of the one inside the bins.
Okay.
And it's got all the TVs on the inside and outside of it, so you can catch whatever sporting event you happen to be watching. But yeah, it was a great time. We had fun. We had a good turnout, and obviously we just appreciate all the support. That was a lot of fun.
Is this going to be a regular thing where you guys get to go hang out at a sports bar with a ribbon board, or what's the plans with you guys in Signia?
So we have a couple more planned. She Believes Cup would be one.
Understand.
Trying to do something for She Believes Cup, and then one of the Copa America matches. would like to do more for Atlanta, but this was kind of like, let's get our toes in the water and see how things go and see how everybody likes it. And it seemed to go over well. Signia seemed to like it, so maybe we'll try to do some more for Atlanta, but nothing yet. We'll figure that out.
Okay, yeah, but I figure, you know, the She Believes thing, I think folks have heard of that. The Copa America, I think folks have heard of that too. So might be cool to hang out with you guys there when you have your next round of remotes. All right, so what are the broadcast plans for you and the guys?
So we actually tonight we will be having Taylor Twellman on the show, live show, at 7:00. So the show kicks off at 7. He'll be on a little after that. And yeah, that's our normal live show on Wednesdays. So check that out on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Those are the 3 main ones.
Okay.
And then scarvesandspikes.com. I got an article coming out in like 20 minutes and we got plenty of stuff coming up about Atlanta. So
and yes, just please discuss the idea of villainy with the gentleman tonight, if you would, please.
For sure.
And just enjoy your conversation. And once again, as always, thanks for coming on a Wall Pass Wednesday as the blatant cross promotion for everything that you guys do. Because, you know, if you've got an article coming out in 13 minutes, I'm hoping it's already proofread. And that all it has to do is just be kicked into the system, because I didn't want to hold you from sitting there and going, okay, no, Tommy, it's I before E except after C, you know, something like that.
No, all I got to do, I got to get my right picture. That's the only thing I have left to do.
Okay. You mean the correct
featured image, right?
The correct picture, the featured image, not the right picture, not like
not the right picture. See, but this is why I speak and don't write the same way.
Okay, so featured image, not the opposite of left when it comes to imagery. Okay,
correct.
Just check. Tyler, as always, at ATL Pilgrim on the Twitters. Thanks for hanging out with us, my friend. You know you have an open door whenever you want to crash, but it's great to have you on every single Wednesday before everything hits the FAN when you guys have your night show. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you.